Good morning. Again. And a great good morning. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'd like to get the call back because that is very much the student life way. Let's do it one more time for the nice people on our panel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome from me. I'll be welcoming everyone and your students included at convocation in just a little while. I know this is such a complicated time for families and supporters of our students as they embark on this new adventure, their read education. And please know that we all understand that it's complicated. You are launching them. We are on their launching pad here to support them as they figure out what happens next, as they learn, as they grow. I'm Audrey Bilger. I'm the president. I should say that. I'm president of Reed College. And because this feels like a good, relaxed audience, I'll sometimes say that you may at some point ask yourself, Bilger, how's that pronounced? Bilger. It's fierce. Ger. So that'll lock it in your memory. So we are so pleased to welcome you all into the Reed community. And I promise you that this group of talented professionals will inspire even greater confidence in our college as a place where your students will find community and support. I tell so many people, our students included, we get up every morning trying to figure out how to make this better and the best experience for our students. And I am fortunate and honored to be able to work with extraordinarily talented people here who know their stuff, who care deeply about the students, one another, and this panel will introduce you to their many skills. So I will leave you in their talented hands. I'm gonna be in the audience now, and again, just so glad you're here. Thank you very much.
How y'all doing? All right. I know it's 9 a.m. in the morning. I am not normally a morning person. So, as President Bilger just said, we in student life, as well as our colleagues over in the Center for Life Beyond Reed, as well as the Office for Institutional Diversity, we have a lot of joy for the work that we do here to support our students, and ultimately also supporting you to help us support your students. So for those of you who don't know me, if you haven't seen my videos just yet, I know I've chatted with a few of you over the course of yesterday, and you're like, hey, either you got ice cream for me yesterday, or you saw my videos about where to go eat. And so if you still want to find out where to go eat, just check out one of those videos or come chat with us, because Portland is filled with lots of good food here. So, but to get started, I'm Dr. K. I serve as the Vice President for Student Life here at the college and have the privilege to support students, particularly outside of the classroom. And so we have a wonderful team of colleagues who do that work. I do not do that work in isolation or alone. It is done in community and in collaboration with many folks throughout the college. So to get us started today, I just want to give you a little sense of things. I know you'll have lots of questions that you probably have. And as noted, I'll be facilitating today's panel that, again, represent a number of folks both in student life, the Center for Life Beyond Reed, and the Office for Institutional Diversity. So before we get started with introductions of our panelists, I always like to tell a little story. I'm from the South. I tell a lot of stories. If you call, I'll tell you a few stories. That's just the nature of it. But one of the things that I talk about with parents often is the stories about how you can be a supporter and a helper for your student. Your students are of the age now where they are having to make some decisions. And as I told them last night, they have a responsibility now that they are in capable hands and also able to make some decisions kind of without your oversight in some ways. So they will make decisions, they will make some choices, and sometimes those are good choices, sometimes they're not so good choices. But one of the things that I always encourage parents to think about is before you give me a call or any of our offices a call, is to ask yourself, what does my kid need in order to be successful? What can I do to help them engage with the appropriate resource on campus? And again, part of this is to help them develop the skills and tools that they'll need, not just for their time at Reed, but beyond Reed. I always say, I wish I could pick up the phone all the time and call my parents and say, hey, can you help me figure this out? Or, your students may do that. They may give you a call and say, hey, I have some questions about XYZ. How do you think I should approach it? So the story I'm going to tell you that I tell every family, every orientation program, is that in my career I've had the opportunity to spend lots of time with families and parents. And one of the two stories that stick out the most to me in my career was that we had a dance on campus one year during Halloween. And I saw a parent show up to the Halloween dance dressed in a full Halloween costume. You can probably see how mortified the student was when they found out that their parent, particularly the dad, was at the Halloween dance. And so I want you to keep that story in mind there. The other story that I want to tell you is that our team is really talented, and so sometimes we have to give you a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I have been on the other receiving end where a parent says, hey, that's your problem, you deal with it. Not the kind of situation we want to be in. So you have those two stories. You have the dad who shows up to a Halloween dance. You have the parent who's on the other end who's like, it's your problem, figure it out. I want you to be somewhere in the middle. I don't want you to be on the extremes, and our team will appreciate you being in the middle. So let me tell you, when our team has these conversations with families, oftentimes one of the first things they say, we will take heed your stories that you told at orientation because, again, we want to be helpful. We want to be in the middle. We don't want to be the overbearing parent. We don't want to be the parent that's not engaged whatsoever. And so, again, we can't do this work to support your kid without you, and that's really important to us. This relationship with you all is equally as important as the relationship we have with our students here at the college. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started with our panel for this morning. So we'll give you a little sense, we'll have our panelists go ahead and introduce themselves, and then I'll give you a little rundown of how the panel will work.
Just intros.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning. I'm Alice Harra. I'm the director of the Center for Life Beyond Reed.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudia Ramirez Cislas. I utilize pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm the Associate Dean for Student and Campus Life.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Chris Dutain. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the Martha A. Darling Dean of Students.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessika Chi. I'm the Associate Dean for Institutional Diversity and Director of the Multicultural Resource Center.
Good morning. My name is Steve Abrahão. I'm the Associate Dean of Students for Academic Life.
Welcome, families. I'm Yasodha Gopal, Associate Dean for Student Health and Wellbeing.
Good morning. I'm Gary Granger. I'm the Director of Community Safety. Welcome to Reed.
So just to give you a little rundown, each of our panelists will start with a brief overview of the areas that are represented, that they represent and lead today. After the panelists have shared information about their area, we will have an opportunity for you all to ask questions of us, to the panelists. So one of the things that I will make a note for you all is that we ask that your questions be of general interest versus very specific to your student, and I'm going to tell you why. If your student knew that you were asking some questions about them, they may be thinking a little differently. So, again, we want to honor their privacy as well in the mix of this. So we will have at the end an opportunity where our panelists will be outside in the foyer. So if you have a very specific question related to your student about how things happen or what needs to happen or support, feel free to head out after we finish the panel, and we can be able to answer those questions on an individual nature. So with that, my hope is that we'll wrap up around 9:55 so that you can ask those individual questions of our panelists. So to get us started, Alice is going to start us off.
So nothing stops a conversation with a first-year student like saying, what would you like to do for the rest of your life. So that's a don't too for parents. So we really, at the Center for Life Beyond Read, we take very special care. We're very excited about our first-year students. We have a very important role that we want to play with them. So I want to talk a little bit about how we do that and then specifically what we do with our first-year students. So at the center, it's very read-like. We created a very read-like model where we want to frame their future. So whether it's work, graduate school, fellowships, national fellowships, combination of all of those things, we want to frame that as a set of issues, problems to be solved, questions to be asked. And not for the rest of your life, just right now. What it is that lights them up right now as they arrive at Reed. So I'm going to give you an example. One of your student may be very passionate about sustainable life on Earth, as we should all be. So sustainable life on Earth may feel very purposeful to them right now. That's a community of purpose, but they may engage in it through, for example, art and beauty in the world. We may find them an internship or a shadow with the county where they're doing upcycling to help use plastic bottles to create some amazing artwork around town. Or maybe it's through pushing the boundaries of science and innovation. And we might find them a research project that they would work on to find, for example, bacteria that eats plastic, which a junior at Reed College actually did. And so they enter sustainable life on Earth in that way. Or investing in financial responsibility. They might talk with a venture capitalist who's one of our trustees who's supporting companies that way. So through that lens, we help them explore their why, their sense of purpose. And they have specifically a peer career advisor assigned to each first-year student to help them do two things. Identify that community of purpose or those communities of purpose that sit together and begin the conversation about how you explore it with funding, with fellowships. Even in the first year, those things are possible for the first-year students. And the second thing that the peer career advisors help them do is transition from high school to college with their tools. So resumes, LinkedIn, and cover letters are not too far away when they're actually the things that help them get campus jobs or research on campus or an internship or a shadow. So we have very specific goals for the first-year students and very specific ways to accomplish that. And they, of course, have access to the professional advisors as well. We're aligned with communities of purpose. So I encourage you all, if you want to, just Google it, play along with us, talk to your students about your community of purpose, and that would be my advice. I'll turn over to Claudia.
All right. So Claudia, she, her, hers. So my title, Associate Dean of Student Campus Life, what does that mean? So what does that mean is that I oversee 3 areas here at the institution. I oversee residence life, student support, and student engagement. And so I'll talk a little bit briefly about those 3 areas. I'm also happy to answer more questions during the Q&A. Specifically with residence life, how many of you helped your student move to campus yesterday? Okay. So residence life, a lot of us, right? Or most of us, if not all of us. So residence life is comprised of 8 professional staff, some who actually live in the residence halls and are there to be an added support for students outside of the classroom and then also for after hours. I know my colleague Gary will speak a little bit about the on-call process and also kind of the added support that his team provides. But part of the reason why we have professional staff living on campus is because we want to make sure that your student is feeling like they have the resources even when a lot of us go home, right? And so an added layer of that, we also have house advisors, which a lot of you probably from your time in college maybe consider them as RAs. Our house advisors are also there as an added layer of support for students, and they also really work collaboratively with the department in putting together programs and events that happen in the halls and that are also rooted in supporting your student. We also find that a lot of our students, they don't tend to necessarily come to us when they have a concern. Sometimes they really come to their peers first. And so we work really hard in training our house advisors to really be a resource to your student. And if need be, then they go ahead and help us with referrals or any kind of situations that we may have to step in and intervene and really be partners with them in supporting your student. What we like to say is that with house advisors, along with our area coordinators, really are kind of our front line in supporting your student in the halls. But we also have a very talented director of residence life and assistant director who are also there managing and making sure everything is good to go. So definitely highly encourage you all to say hi to all the area coordinators, the house advisors, and our director. I know they've been working really hard to ensure that you're welcomed in yesterday. And so that's one area that we oversee. The other area that I oversee is also student support area, which is comprised of one individual, our director, Dr. Luis Giraldo. Some of you might meet him throughout this week. Even though we have one director who helps oversee that, really the care of students and student support is all of our work. Not just the folks up here, but also really anybody that works at the institution. And basically the role of Dr. Luis Giraldo is to ensure that any care referrals that come in regards to maybe a faculty member has a concern for your student, maybe there's a student who has a concern for their peer, they're able to file a care report online, and Dr. Luis Giraldo takes that and then kind of funnels that based off of the area of concern. He also often helps us out with revamping our on-call process to ensure that it is effective, up-to-date, and also it's rooted with best practices. And so with the on-call process, we have kind of our first tier, which are house advisors who are often walking the communities, ensuring that students are okay, connecting with students. And then we have our sort of next tier, which is community safety. And then we also have area coordinators on call, and then our deans on call, and so forth. So as you can tell, there's a lot of support there, not just during business hours, but also after hours. And then also the work of Dr. Luis Giraldo is also in reaching out and creating these care stations where he's constantly reminding students with the collaboration of a bunch of campus partners that we're here to support you, and hopefully that our first interaction is not when you're actually in crisis, but that we're building a community and a relationship before things occur. The third office that I oversee is student engagement, which I know probably a lot of students are probably more thrilled to engage with that office because part of the work of student engagement is helping put together programs and events for the institution, but they also help a lot of our student clubs and orgs. And so if your student has a passion for whatever it is, aerial dancing, whatever, like student support will go ahead and meet with them and help them make that happen. And part of their work is also thinking about the risk management, right? If they're doing aerial dance, what does that look like? And so really we have a wide array of like student clubs and orgs, but if your student says, you know what, I want to start my own one, then that office is a great resource for that. Also, all of us are here in orientation, right? Yeah? Okay. So the Office of Student Engagement actually went ahead and also helped coordinate student engagement in collaboration with various campus partners and our faculty. And so in addition to student programs and in addition to clubs and orgs, they also help put together orientation. So that's a little bit about the offices that I oversee. Happy to take any questions once the Q&A opens up, and welcome to Reed.
Next up, we'll have Gary Granger.
Good morning again. I'm Gary, the Director of Community Safety. I will give you, a very brief sketch of what our shop does here. And as Carnell said, we'll be available for questions. And I'll be here all day on campus, so feel free to look me up, come down to our office. I'm happy to speak with any of you. I've been here, this will be my 14th year now at Reed. So I have a little bit of an idea of what the space looks like, and I enjoy being here. Quickly, probably the most important thing for you to help your student understand about what I do is that we're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in person. We are always available to help. 28 West, where my office is open 24 hours a day. There's always a dispatcher there. We always answer the phone. And so if you or your student can't figure something out, you can call us. If you call the Reed main number and you get the phone tree, if you hit 0, that's the dispatcher picks that up. If you call our emergency number, it's the dispatcher. And that person has access to all of our resources and information. And so it's 2 in the morning, it's 2 in the afternoon, it doesn't matter. Your student can call us or come down to our building and get help and information. We're connected to the on-call team at all times. And so there really isn't a minute of the day when there isn't some resource available to your student And if we can't solve the issue, which is often the case, we will find the people who can. So that's probably my most important takeaway. A couple things about this team. We are not police. Those of you who have been to higher education institutions, the vast majority in the country have commissioned police officers. That is not the case for Reed, and we're not unique in that way. There are several places like us. So we do not carry firearms. We do not make arrests. We do enforce the rules. And we do a lot of other things you would associate with campus police or campus security. So we do patrols, we check buildings, we check parking lots. We also offer escorts at night. We let students back into their room when they get locked out. We do the emergency management program on campus. And we enforce the alcohol and other drug policy, which some of your students maybe engage with while they're here at the college. So what I will say is that, we firmly believe in a harm reduction approach and a restorative approach that's educational for students in all aspects, and that includes when they encounter someone on my team for a conversation they didn't really want to have. We don't believe harm reduction and enforcement of rules are mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand, actually. Having clear boundaries that are enforced in a collaborative and harm reductive way are important as part of the learning process here at Reed, and so my team is part of that as well. I think what I'll end with is what I began with, which is if you or your students have questions or concerns or just don't know how to get help, call us. We're here, and we are very happy to take that phone call to have you show up in our office. And again, welcome.
Next up, we have Jessika Chi.
Hi, everyone. Jessika Chi. I work in the Office for Institutional Diversity. I'm starting my 8th academic year here at Reed. And so 2 areas that I oversee that I want to talk to you about that might be of benefit to your student is the Multicultural Resource Center and our SEEDS Community Engagement Program. So the Multicultural Resource Center, we do a lot of events, cultural event programming, really to enrich the student's academic experience. Supporting students in their identity exploration and development, and really focusing on community building and supporting particularly multicultural student groups. And so the Multicultural Resource Center is a team of student staff who are doing a lot of events, programming, community building, trying to serve a very diverse student population that we have here at Reed. And one of the main programs within the Multicultural Resource Center is a peer mentor program, which I think some of your students may be involved in. And so our peer mentor program really assists students in their transition to Reed, particularly if they come from a background in which Reed might be a very new experience for them, whether they're their very first in their family to attend college. And so we often help with that transition by pairing them up with a peer mentor that can really assist them in their first year here at Reed. The second area I want to talk about is SEEDS, our community engagement program. SEEDS is an acronym. It stands for Students for Equity, Education, and Direct Service. So SEEDS is really involved in connecting your student to meaningful volunteer and service opportunities, often with community-based organizations within the Portland area. And so we encourage all students to volunteer and to do service, and any student has that opportunity to do that through SEEDS. We have a lot of community partners within the Portland area that we can connect students to, particularly based off of their interest. Students can also do community engagement for graduation credits. So students are required to complete 6 units of PE before they graduate. 2 of those 6 they can do through community engagement, which means they can volunteer with a community-based organization off campus for 2 hours a week, and they can gain that PE/CE credit. So 2 of those credits they can gain by volunteering out in the community. If your student has federal work study, they can also earn their federal work study wages through community engagement. So again, volunteering with our community-based organizations, or not volunteering, working with our community-based organizations and earning their federal work study wages by working with them. And then finally, the SEEDS program also runs our Reed Community Pantry on campus. So this is a free resource to students who may be experiencing any sort of resource precarity at any moment in their Reed College career. So we have food, non-perishable items, toiletries, basic supplies that students can come and get what they need, no questions asked. they can grab as much as they want. And this is just, again, to support, to make sure that they have their basic needs met in order to be successful in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And so these two areas that I oversee, I just want to emphasize that they're very student-focused, which is why we partner very collaboratively with our student life colleagues, often student-led and also very community-focused. So we're trying to build community both on campus and connect students to communities off campus that may be of interest to them. So if you have questions about the Multicultural Resource Center, our programming, volunteer and service opportunities that may be available to your students, you can come talk to me afterwards. Thanks so much.
Steve, you're up next.
I always go after Jessica, and so I have to prepare myself. I'm sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Steve Abrahão. I'm Associate Dean for Academic Life. I oversee 3 offices here at Reed that are specifically focused on providing your students some essential services. So the first one is academic support. This is tailored, individualized academic coaching, tutoring, writing support. It's supplemental to the classroom. So if your students are interested in needing support academically, which is a conversation that we can have as well, this is a great opportunity for students to access that support directly through our offices. I also oversee our Disability and Accessibility Resources Office. This is the office that ensures access and accommodations, not only academically, but also in housing, so that your students have an opportunity to fully engage on the campus community. And then also oversee the International Student Services Office. So 8% of our campus are actually international students, 140 students that represent 28 countries all over the world. So part of them is ensuring that they feel acclimated and have access to all the information that a traditional student will have here at Reed. In addition, we get to learn so much about the world outside of Portland, Oregon. So that's a great opportunity for those to kind of have that duality. Big picture, what does my job look like? I work with students and I help students who are facing academic changes or challenges find a path to graduation. Students will meet with me if they're needing to make some changes that they made at 17 years old and they're like, hey Steve, I'm not interested in that. Like, okay, let's talk about a path moving forward. Or they're needing some academic interventions like academic support or like accommodations or conversations that they can help navigate a conversation with their faculty or their advisor. I work with them, I talk with them, and I give them some interventions to help them find a path towards graduation. Thank you.
Yasodha, you're up next.
Thank you, Cornell. Hi, I'm Yasodha Gopal, Associate Dean of Student Health and Wellbeing, and I had, actually many of us up here had the opportunity to experience your students. Your students are amazing. They were so effervescent last night, and I was thinking, gosh, it's 6:30 at move-in day, and they were just amazingly enthusiastic. So that was such a treat for all of us. My umbrella is actually the Health and Counseling Center, the Athletic Fitness and Outdoor Programs, as well as sexual health advocacy, resources and education. And so I've had the opportunity to meet with students. Most of my day is, really student-centered. We have, of course, the HCC, which is the Health and Counseling Center, and we have a team of incredible providers there who are able to offer both primary care type of visits as well as episodic visits for illness. If your student needed anything, they could reach out through the student health portal, which is completely confidential. And as a parent, I know that's a little frustrating because you don't have, you feel like you've been involved, at the pediatrician's office, and now you come on campus and you don't have the ability to get a lot of information, but just empower your students to use the portal. We have a team that helps, navigate everything, so they should feel rest assured, you should feel rest assured that they are in good hands. Our counseling center will be offering really short, focused visits for counseling for our students, 6 visits per semester. And, it's nice if you feel like you want to give a heads up or you want your student to give the counseling center a heads up on certain things that they have been navigating through high school, be sure they go ahead and get an early appointment to be able to touch base. We also have a huge list of community referrals and folks that have been partnering with us for the last several years that we feel really comfortable with. And we have a lot of students who connect with their out-of-state providers for that ongoing counseling. So that is there. Athletic, fitness, and outdoor programs have been a great, just in terms of well-being and our movement towards health promotion. We can brag a little bit that we are now part of the United States Health Promoting Network, and we really have a vision of wanting our students to really be in the highest expression of their body, minds, and spirits, and really looking at well-being holistically, and really nurturing kind of lifelong habits. And of course, the third portion of my umbrella is sexual health advocacy, and we have incredible students who are, we've sent students this year to the White House, to law school, students that have been really involved in this work on campus, supporting survivors and educating our campus in terms of health promotion. I just want to say to you all that I've been here and done that, and I say that in a way where I know how it feels. It's that kind of heartbreak combined with heartburst, and you're feeling all the EFs, like the IEFs, that time's a thief and it's been way too brief. Here you are. You're navigating the grief of, I think, like many of us have felt, especially your students who had the pandemic hit them right there, that freshman year. So their entire high school careers. And so we hope that that have a sense of relief that we're all here, and that you will feel like that they're not just grown and flown, that you are still a part of their lives, that you are going to be able to give them be a guiding force without feeling like you're that it's not a grasp, it's like a light just holding them in tenderness, I would say. So thank you all. And if you have any questions, we have an open house at 4 p.m. today, right back here. So I would rather have you all go into convocation with Kleenex and joy and come back at 4 o'clock and we can chat more. But we will be out here for anything you have. Okay, take care.
And then finally, Chris.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Chris Dutain. I am thrilled to be the Dean of Students. I am starting my 4th year here at Reed and my 1st year in this position. And so I fully expect that this incoming class is going to be a particularly special class for me because they are entering Reed as I am entering this new role that is a pivotal role of student support and advocacy. And so for me in the Dean of Students role, I work very closely with Steve and Claudia in particular, as well as with Cameron Tanner, who's our Assistant Dean for Student Rights and Responsibilities. And so Cameron manages some of our accountability processes, conflict resolution processes and resources on campus. And I have the pleasure of being able to work very closely with these folks and support them in the work that they're doing with their offices and their departments, while also working directly with students. And so an opportunity to work with students individually, to provide individually tailored support, to celebrate the student experience along with them, and to take what it is that we're seeing and learning from their individualized experiences, to then work back with the individual, or to work back with the departments, to be constantly iterating our processes, understanding that student needs change over time, and so making sure that we are being both responsive at an individual student level and also being responsive at a systems level. And so I am Yeah, very excited to be here. I think in reflecting on what Carnell was talking about in terms of the parent at the Halloween dance and the parent who says figure it out, and what Yasodha mentioned about navigating your experience as parents and how you interact with your students. I think throughout my career, I've fielded, I would say regularly, particularly in residence life and student conduct roles in which I have been in previously, phone calls that went something to the effect of, Chris, I've got a concern about my student. I think I have some thoughts about what it is that they need. Please don't tell them I called you. They would be mortified if they knew we were having this conversation right now. And not wanting to discount the expertise that y'all have about your students. You are in incredible positions to be able to support them. You know them incredibly well in ways that we will not know them. And oftentimes those conversations that I was having involved us thinking through, like, well, how many folks do you think your student has told about that thing? Okay, and so if I go do that thing, they're probably going to come to the conclusion that we had this conversation anyway, aren't they? And so how can we take the opportunity for you to work with your student to help them think through how they may approach that opportunity? It sets you up to have a more honest, authentic, transparent relationship and communication with your student, while simultaneously setting them up to have a moment of positive self-advocacy and to step into that moment of growth outside of the student experience, which we take very seriously and want to support. So thank you all for being here. We're excited.
All right, so we have come to the time where there will be questions, the Q&A part. So we will have folks coming around the room with mics. So if you have a question, please raise it high. Again, I will remind you that don't tell your students' business, by the way. So again, want to be really mindful of that. Typically, what I hear oftentimes for questions is that a question that one parent may have is probably everyone's probably thinking the same thing as well. So I know some folks are not as brave to ask questions. That's okay, because I'm sure a fellow parent will ask a question as well. So I think we have one first here in the front.
Right.
You're live.
Hi there. Question I have is, I guess, formulated for Gary, but probably for all of you. Gary, you mentioned students can call at any time. I'm probably not alone in this room in saying that my kid won't take a call or make a call. We all talk on the phone, but they don't talk on the phone as it was originally intended. So my question, Gary, would be, in all seriousness, do you have facility to receive texts? Do any of you take texts? Because that's probably... I'm here all week.
That's a great question. Thank you. The short answer is yes. We have a texting number as well as a non-emergency and an emergency number. And we want to message to the students that texting us in an emergency is a bad idea. And you all know that, and they will need to learn that as they go forward. We can be reached via text, via email, in person, or on the phone, so all of those modalities exist. And I can speak, I think, for everyone at the table here, that we have ways of receiving information electronically from students who just are afraid to pick up the phone and call, like one of my daughters. So I understand, and yes, we have a texting line.
And if I could just jump in really quickly, too. So Dr. Licidal, our Director of Student Support, often is doing a lot of follow-up and aftercare, and he has found that sometimes a phone call and email won't get to students, and so he often engages in texting back and forth with students, even if that means, hey, let's set up coffee and let's talk further. And so that has been one way that he's actually also connected with students, because this is a different generation. But yeah, we were able to receive messages as well.
We have a question over in the back.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. I may not be alone in navigating the 18-year-old health forms. So when children turn 18, healthcare representatives, all the forms and paperwork we need to fill out in case something happens to our students so that we get access to information. Do you have any insider tips or guidance as to what's really important as we navigate that? Any particular forms that you feel like are very important in the Reed community, for example? Like healthcare representatives, things like that?
I think I heard all of that question. I think you, in terms of help navigating the medical forms, yes. So we are happy to help your student with those forms. I think that we have the Health and Counseling Center is open, and we do have a team at the front desk as well as a case manager who can sort of help with those forms. And I see that you're probably thinking about how do we get the information in correctly? Do they have the right information? And I think a lot of that will depend on if they have old records that have been sent in through the portal. We can use that information to help with those forms, and then we can talk more at the open house today if you have any further questions about that. And actually, my entire team will be there, so maybe we can help with that. Yeah. Okay.
We have another question in the back.
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So my interpretation of the question was talking about like power of attorney and like access to financial records and that kind of thing. So those types of forms in the event that there's like an accident or something, they're incapacitated, and us being able to have access to their medical records or things like that. And so, like, I had my daughter fill those out. Is there a place that I can submit them to you so that you know that I have that power of attorney or that ability to see their medical records in the event of something like that?
So I'll take a first stab at the question for you. So the question is again about how do you power of attorney? Something happens to your kid, and you're trying to figure out all the things and all of that stuff. One of the big parts of this is that when you moved in, we asked for emergency contact information. So when a situation arises and we need to get a hold of you, we will call you when it comes to emergencies. So you don't need any other than us having the emergency contact information, and the student will tell us who that is. Sometimes it's not you all, just FYI. They do not want y'all to be called. But whoever's the emergency contact, that's the first person that we call that's on record. Now, when we're talking about specific health records and things of that nature, it's important for your student to have, again, these conversations with you about access to the information. And so that's something that, again, the student will have a conversation with you about, and then they will work with the HCC directly on providing access to information related to health records. Our registrar is here, because this is also, I think, a tangent as well to kind of the conversation about FERPA in a sense too, to give you a little bit of clarity. So I'm gonna ask Jason, who's over here to the right, and someone has a mic, or there we go, coming. Jason is our registrar. Jason Marr, our registrar.
Yeah, you got the rhyme. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Marr. I'm the registrar here at Reed. So there was just a show of hands. Does anybody know what FERPA is? You ever heard of FERPA? Yeah, there's a lot of folks here. So HIPAA protects health records. FERPA protects education records. And I would just reiterate what Dr. K just said, is that you should really have a conversation with your student, that the best way to access academic information is through your student, because they have access to stuff. So, for instance, grades, students do have access to a viewable or downloadable unofficial transcript. If you're curious about grades, you can ask your student, they can send them to you. They don't even need to look at them themselves if they don't want to. In terms of FERPA and access to education records, not a lot of people know FERPA covers the life of a student. So when a student was in elementary or secondary school, the FERPA rights resided with the parent or guardian. Once they turn 18 or they start attending an institution of higher education, regardless of their age, those rights transfer to the student, right? So the college's mandate is to protect the student's education records, and we can only disclose with their written consent. So that's got to be a wet signature. So if your student wants to allow you access to specific elements of their education record, they can come visit the registrar's office and fill out a waiver. It's good for 1 academic year.
Thank you. Oh, we have another question over in the back.
Good morning. Thank you. Sorry for my raspy voice. I had a question around, so I work with kids and teens, and then also I think all of us as parents of teens know that often when someone is struggling, the first folks they kind of talk to about that stuff are their friends. So is there any education or support around helping the students kind of support each other and around supporting each other in seeking, help or wellness, especially when they're kind of the first go-to in their close circle of friends that they develop here?
Who wants to take that? All of us can actually answer that question because we see it regularly, but I'll have Chris give us a start.
Yeah. So, I think we have an incredibly caring community. In my previous role, I was the Title IX coordinator, and the number of students who would come to me with a concern about one of their friends, and it was, it's so powerful and positive to see our community caring for each other in that way, and it drives a lot of the communication and presentations that we do within the community in both encouraging that and talking about the resources. And so when the student staff in the residence halls are talking to students about different resources that are available with the area coordinators, with the professional staff across offices, oftentimes we're talking about that as not only if you are encountering these things, but when your friends may be encountering these things, and talking about ways that we can be an attentive community. And so recognizing those changes in behavior, that you've come to know your friend to be this particular way, and all of a sudden this week they're showing up in a very different way, and you don't know exactly what that means, but it looks different to you. How can you let someone know? And both how can you let someone know, and then generally, here's what to expect. Here's what our outreach will be to that student. It will be an outreach that is an expression of care. It will be connecting them with Dr. Luis Geraldo to shepherd that student support piece, so that we can check in and intervene early and at the lowest level possible.
I will just say last night, as Yasodha said, we had the lovely privilege of talking with all of the incoming students. Again, the energy levels, I tell you, they are excited to be here. And they're excited to be in community. And so this piece around their peers being their best, also some of the folks that they're going to share the most with first, was really highlighted in the conversations that we had last night. And that students are like, okay, how do I support my peers? How do I care for each other? Like, this is not just about myself. And I remember one student specifically said, like, we're excited to be a part of this caring community where we are caring for each other. We're lifting each other up collectively and not just our own selves. So I think you'll see that happen with our students, with your students. And I encourage you that if you're having conversations with your kiddos about, like, hey, like, if you see something, hey, tell someone. Don't just think it's not going to get heard or talked about or whatnot. Let someone know, because that's how we are as a community. And what Chris was also referring to is that we have this form, and Claudia also noted it in her remarks about the care referral. So we have our care referral program. Essentially, students can use it to refer their peers, faculty use it to refer students, staff. I mean, parents use it to refer to us as well. So it is, again, a good tool and a good resource. And it's called our care referral form, and you can find that on the website easily.
Only thing I'd like to add is I think the campus community care is actually much broader, right? So it's great to see it from a student-to-student perspective, and we see that growth. We see it from the faculty advising perspective, and we see it in the classroom with the faculty instructors who are seeing these students every day and engaging with your students every time they attend class. So our referral process is pretty vast, and so if your student's seeking support, one thing that we talk about is identifying someone on campus that they can speak with. that person doesn't necessarily have to be the expert and know all the resources, but they can identify one of us on stage or someone else on our campus that can really facilitate those conversations and access that care.
There was a question in front somewhere. Oh, you've been waiting for a while, right?
Yeah. I just was following up.
You can hold the mic up.
I was following up with the registrar about submitting HIPAA release forms. Is that something that we can do online, like for decisions, healthcare decisions for our...
So the student will have to go into the health center to actually take care of signing medical forms.
And that's all there is. They do it. We don't do it.
Yes,
Such a
they
weird
have to do it.
concept for me.
Same for academics.
Yep, same for academics as well. They have to do it.
We bought my student a bike off Facebook, and they said don't leave the bike unattended. Then a couple people yesterday said make sure you don't leave the bike on campus. Can you give me the story about the bikes and their safety?
I guess that's me. So Portland is a biking community, if you haven't noticed, and that's a great thing. And it also creates a high demand for stolen bikes and stolen bike parts. Frankly, there's a market for it. And so bike theft in Portland is a thing. We're not unique in that way, but with a biking town and a lot of bikes, that's a problem that we face all the time. On campus, it's an open campus, as you can see, and so we lose bikes every year. The best practices for bikes are these. One, if you can store your bike indoors, do so. We have indoor bike storage all over campus. Most or all of our residence halls have an option for that. Some other academic buildings have indoor bike storage. And so overnight storage, I recommend indoors whenever possible. That is the safest place to keep a bike. During the day, or if you have to leave it out overnight, the best lock you can buy on the least expensive bike that will get the job done for you. I was a cyclist years ago with the racing team, and so had a really expensive bike. I would not leave a really expensive bike anywhere in Portland or anywhere else for that matter. For commuting and getting around campus, you don't need a high-performance bicycle. You need something with 2 round wheels that have air in the tires. You can go back and forth. And so, one adage is the most expensive lock with the cheapest bike that will get the job done for you makes it less attractive. So I would say indoor storage is the thing to do if you can. Ask your house advisors, right, and others on campus for where the best place is. Get a good lock. Don't get a really expensive bike to keep outside. And register your bike with us, please. We have a bike registry program.
All right, we have come to time. All right, I was like, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? So we've come to time. And so again, I want to first of all thank you all for being here today. On behalf of the Office for Institutional Diversity, the Center for Life Beyond Read, our Division of Student Life teams, we look forward to supporting your students and officially welcome them to Read this morning at Convocation, which will happen over in the tent on the Great Lawn. And so for closing remarks, I would like to welcome Jenny Manning to the stage to give some greetings from College Relations and the Parents Council.
Thank you. So I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jenny Manning. I'm the contact for Parent and Family Giving here at Reed. And it was so nice to get to know all of you over at the name tag table. We know today is all about getting to know each other and getting to know campus. So we added some campus facts and then also just a bingo game for fun. So we just wanted to encourage you to enjoy your day and have fun, get to know each other, and welcome.
So So as I mentioned, we will have our colleagues out in the foyer. You'll see small bistro tables. They'll be lined up there. Feel free, if you didn't get your question answered and you have a very specific question, this is the time to ask it. But also know that this is not the only time you can ask as well. So feel free again to connect with our colleagues. And we'll see you this morning over at Convocation as well. Thank y'all.
Nice job.